This coffee is hot, which also means it's full of energy. Now, how does this have anything to do with your brand new gaming computer? Well, it's pretty simple. Computers use energy, which means they also produce heat. And the more energy they use, the more heat they put off. And generally, one thing nobody ever talks about is the amount of energy that parts use. Because in the newest build guides and product reviews, the least sexy information is put to the bottom of the list over the FPS and the scores and all these things. And so, wattage and power consumption is usually on the very, very bottom of the list when it comes to considerations for buying or building a new computer. However, the more energy your computer uses and the less energy efficient it is, the more heat that it's going to produce. Not only this, but it's going to be even worse at the end of the month when you get your electric bill. And of course, more heat means more noise from fans and more money and more expensive exotic cooling solutions. Speaking of which, remember to subscribe if you'd like to see exotic cooling solutions, like the one I put on my PS3 when I water cooled it. Link in the description. Now, a prime example of energy consumption causing massive problems is this. I'm holding a $1,000 mistake that I made. This is an i9-10850K, and I bought it a couple years ago, just like everybody else, chasing performance and performance numbers only. I had no consideration for the fact that it drew nearly 250 watts at peak power consumption from the wall, and was completely impossible to cool. And so, as you can see, direct eye cooling, liquid metal, custom water cooling, AIOs, the whole 9 yards. I did all of it, and I spent a lot of money trying to cool it. And yet, under load, it still was reaching 80 degrees Celsius. And playing games for any amount of time resulted in my computer being completely swamped and my entire room being hot, since, in effect, my computer was being a nearly 800 watt room heater. So of course, the question becomes, what do you do about this problem? Well, if you haven't built the computer already, or you're looking to upgrade, choose more efficient items over others. For example, the new X3D chips, which I just put a new 7800 X3D in my computer, make the 14900K look ridiculous when it comes to performance per watt. The 14900K pretty much loses in all gaming benchmarks, except for in one category. It blows the 7800 X3D out of the water in power usage.
Oh, hell no, man. What the?
From these side-by-side comparisons, you can see that in frame rate, it loses while drawing nearly double the power from the wall. And this is only during gaming performance. If you're stressing the CPU to 100%, my 7800 X3D only draws about 80 watts. That i9 14900K can draw over 200 watts, which is ridiculous. But if you're not going to care too much about the energy consumption, at least put some more thought and some more money into cooling solutions for your computer. Look into exotic stuff like direct eye cooling, using exotic thermal interface materials such as liquid metal or PTM 750, and choose better cases and just better coolers to cool your processor more efficiently. It's going to create the same problem. Your room is going to get hot and your processor is going to be hotter anyways, but at least you can bring the temperatures to a reasonable level and the noise to a reasonable level. And finally, this applies to pretty much anybody and everybody except for people on locked Intel CPUs, and that is undervolting. You see, from the factory, all processors come at a certain voltage level set by the manufacturer. Pretty much every single computer chip out there can be run at a lower voltage at around the same or better performance depending on how lucky you get. If you have a Ryzen CPU, non-X3D, or an Intel K CPU and a compatible motherboard, you can go into the BIOS and directly control the voltage, the overall voltage, using a negative offset. Now, while I can't provide specific instructions here, I will have some videos linked in the description for you, and it pretty much looks the same at the highest level. But if you're like me and have an aforementioned X3D chip, you're actually not out of luck. Even though they are locked, you can tune the PBO curve, Precision Boost Overdrive, to use less power, up to about 150 to 100 millivolts less, which is insane. But you have to have pretty good luck when it comes to the silicon lottery. Now, when you get into the territory of undervolting GPUs, things get a lot more finicky. And this is because it isn't as much of a big deal for most people, because GPUs are a lot easier to cool, and they just use more power, and everybody's cool with that. But you should still look into undervolting your GPU, especially if you live in an area where energy costs are really high, or you're using a very small form factor case. This can be achieved by using a program like MSI Afterburner and using a voltage curve and bringing the voltage down across all frequencies. Again, I'll have videos linked in the description, but that pretty much only applies to NVIDIA GPUs. On the other hand, for AMD, you have some other controls, but not as much information exists because AMD GPUs are a lot more rare in the PC space. However, turning down the power limit / power target and turning down the core voltage can do wonders for temperatures and power usage. And that's what I wanted to do. With this video, I set out to at least bring a little bit of light onto the subject when it comes to power usage in computers, because this is something that pretty much no one talks about. Linus Tech Tips has done a couple videos about it, but In the general scheme of things, when you look up best computer build, you never ever see anybody mention performance per watt, you never mention efficiency, none of it. So when you're building your next computer, I urge you to please at least consider efficiency when it comes to parts, cooling, and undervolting. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you.